Alright, so this is just a quick review of adding measurements. So today there is an adding measurements continued. It's based off of what you've already learned. However, on this assignment you will see some triple deckers. So I'm going to do maybe about 4 problems just for a review. So up top, number 1, I don't have written in, but I have this problem written on the horizon, right? Nothing is stacked. And I just wanted you to see this, me write it out because of the mistakes that students make. So we got 3 feet and 7 3/4 inches plus 7 5/8 inches plus 1 foot 2 3/16 inches. So in order to know how to set it up, just pay attention to the addition sign. We know we're adding. No, this does not mean we're subtracting. Don't forget, this joins a unit of measure. We're adding, so don't look at this hyphen, which joins the unit of measure, as a subtraction sign. It's not. So I wanted you to see me actually write this out. So yesterday's lesson, I had the problems written on the board. Today, I just want you to see me write it out. And don't forget, I did the feet, inches, fraction columns to help you out. So I'm going to set it up. There's my feet. There's my inches, and that's my fraction. Feet, inches, fraction. This is going to help me get this set up properly. 3 feet. I know I got 3 feet. I got 7 inches. And I have 3/4 of an inch for the first unit of measure. Plus 7 5/8 inches. Do not line these problems up incorrectly, otherwise it's wrong out the gate. So this is a mixed number. There is no feet in this unit of measure. So we got 7 5/8 inches. This 7 represents a whole number of inches, so the 7 goes in my inch column. Alright? And 5/8 inches, I know that's my fraction. And plus 1 foot and 2 3/16 of an inch. Bam. I just set that problem up. Again, we're adding. Make sure you're lining everything up properly. So, first thing we have to do is have a gotta have a common denominator before you start adding. The denominator is the bottom number of the fraction. We got a 16, we have an 8, and we have a 4. The numerator is the top number. Don't forget that. 3, 5, and 3. So we want to make sure that bottom number, the denominator, is the same. And how do we get there? We're going to find the lowest common denominator. Don't forget, the boss of the sauce is 16. The largest denominator. The reason why we use that as a guide is because we don't want the denominator to be lower than 16. So, just like when we were dealing with two units of measure adding, it's the same thing with 3. However, every denominator, the 2 lower ones have to be able to go in there evenly. Alright? So, 16 is a boss. Can 8 go into 16 evenly? Yep. Yes, it can. Can 4 go into 16 evenly? Yep. Yes, it can. So because both 8 and 4 can go into 16 evenly, that is my LCD. Alright. I like to write in 2 different colors. I'm going to try it. I'm going to go for it. So 4 times what gave me 16? Let's start at the top fraction. 4 times 4 gave me 16. What do I do for that 3, the numerator for that fraction?
Times 4.
You do whatever you do to the bottom, you do the same to the top for that fraction. So we got 3 times 4 is?
12.
So there's my 12 16ths of an inch. Let's go to that middle one, 5/8 inches. 8 times what gives me 16?
2.
8 times 2 gave me 16. What do I do with the 5 for that fraction?
17
times 2? 10. So we got 10/16 for that middle fraction. And what about the bottom? We got 3/16 of an inch.
1.
Yep, 16 times 1, just to show that 16 doesn't change. If the denominator doesn't change, the numerator doesn't change either. So the 3/16 stay the same. So now we can add. We add the numerators. 12, 10, and 3. Top number is a numerator. 12 plus 10 is?
22.
22 plus 3?
23. 25.
25. Denominator stays the same. What type of fraction is that?
Improper.
We have an improper fraction. That is going to be on the test. An improper fraction is when the numerator, top number, is larger than a denominator. So we need to find out how many times what?
16 can go into 20.
How many times can a denominator go into the numerator? So, improper fraction is going to give us a mixed number or a whole number. In this case, I know it's going to be a mixed number because 16 can't go into 25 evenly. How many 16s can we get out of 25? 1. Subtract 16 from there and we are left with 9. This 1 represents what?
The whole number.
Whole numbers. Anytime you get, anytime you have an improper fraction, don't forget from yesterday's lesson. Anytime you have an improper fraction, that whole number that you get from that improper fraction is going to be a whole number of what? It shifts over one column to the left. Inches. Because we started off with a fraction of an inch. If you have a fraction of an inch, anything that comes from it is going to be inches. Unless it's 12 or more. After that step, then you would shift it over to the feet column. It goes from right to left. So this is my inches. This 9 represents what?
Fraction.
That's the fraction. So now we know we have 1.
9/16.
Yep, 1 and 9/16 inches. Follow the circle of life. Always ask, can you reduce? Can you reduce 9/16? No, you cannot. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to bring my fraction over. We got 9/16. That can't be reduced. I don't like that because that's faint. So let's try this one. We're going to bring over the 9/16. And we still have this 1, you said inch we need to bring over. I'm going to bring it up top. We got an extra inch here. So now we add our inches column. We have 1 inch plus 7 inches is 8 inches. Plus 7 is 15. Plus 2 is
17.
So we have 17 inches. 3 plus 1, 4 feet. So don't forget, when we're writing a unit of measure out, feet, 1 tally. And, right, that's telling me I have something more. 17 and 9/16 of an inch. Is this the final answer?
No.
Why not?
17 inches. Got to be converted.
Yep, the 17 inches have to be converted to what?
Feet.
Yes, it does. It has to be. We need to figure out how many feet and inches we can get out of there. So, let's do some division. We got 17 inches. We want to find out how many 12s we can get out of 17. How many? 1. 1 12. That 1 represents my
Inch. How many feet?
feet. If I subtract 12 inches from 17, I'm left with
5
5 what?
inches.
5 inches. So, you just told me that I have an additional foot, and you told me you took 12 inches from here, which left me with 5 inches. So my final answer,
5 feet.
and
9/16.
let's get rid of those inch marks because we have a fraction we have to drop. The inch marks follow the fraction, and that is a final answer. 5 feet, 5 and 9/16 of an inch. Again, what you learned yesterday, same thing, only difference is we're incorporating another unit of measure. We're adding 3 units of measure instead of 2 on this assignment. So you got to make sure you find that, what do I call it, boss or the sauce. The denominator would never be smaller than that. And you want to make sure both of these denominators can go under this 16 or into that, to the boss evenly And once you do that, you found your LCD. All right, let's look at the next one. Again, don't forget how to pay attention how you're setting these up too. So number 2, we have 7 3/8 inches plus 3 feet 5 5/6 inches plus 8 1/3 inches. I'm gonna draw my columns just to keep things intact. There's my feet, inches, fraction. First thing I need to do, can I add this the way it is? No, I have to have a common denominator. The boss is
8.
The 8 is the boss. The 8 is telling me it's my guide. That's my guide. The LCD, the denominator should not be smaller than this 8. So we want to ask ourselves what?
How many times 6 going to 8?
Well, not how many times. Can 6 go into 8 evenly?
No.
No, it cannot. Can 3 go into 8 evenly?
No.
No. And even if 3 could go into there evenly, both of them have to go in evenly. So because 6 and 3 doesn't go into 8 evenly, we need to take that 8, double it up. 8 times 2 is? 16. So now, can 6 go into 16 evenly?
No.
Can 3 go into 16 evenly?
No.
No, it cannot. So we're going to take that boss and we're going to multiply it by 3. 8 times 3 is? 24. Can 6 go into 24 evenly?
Mm-hmm.
Can 3 go into 24 evenly?
Yeah.
Yep. So that means 24 is my lowest common denominator. So we said that 24 is LCD. 8 times what gives me 24?
4. Wait, 8, 3. Yeah.
8 times 3. That's how we got our 24. So what do we do for that 3 in that fraction?
3 times 3.
3 times 3 is?
9.
That gives me 9. So now I have 9/24 inches there. What about that 5, 6? 6 times what gave me 24?
6 times 4.
6 times 4 give me 24.
5 times 4 is 20.
Alright. Now what about this bottom fraction? 3 times
1.
not,
Nope. Can't be.
can't be. Yep, you
3
used to,
times 8.
yep, 3 times 8. 3 times 8 gave me 24. So what do I do for the fraction up top?
1 times.
I mean the numerator. 1 times 8, 8. So, now we have an LCD. We have a common denominator. So now we just add the numerators. Again, the numerators are numbers on the top. Denominators, now that it's in common, it's the same. It stays the same. 9 plus 20 is?
29.
29 plus 7, I'm sorry. 29 plus 8 is?
37.
Yep, that's where the 7 came from. 37 over 24, and this is what type of fraction? Improper fraction. You never want to have a final answer as an improper fraction. An improper fraction is where the numerator is larger than the denominator, and it should not be that way. All right, so we want to find out what?
How many 24?
How many 24s can I get out of 37? How many 24s can we get out of 37? 1. So if I subtract 24 from 37, I'm left with 13. That 1. This 1 represents what?
Whole inches.
You're right, a whole number of inches. Good job. So that's my whole number of inches again. An improper fraction, and if you need to write this down, write it down. An improper fraction is going to give you a whole number of inches first. It's not going to give you feet first, it's going to give you inches. So this is my whole number of inches. This 13 represents your
Fraction.
Yep, so there's my circle of life. 13 24 inches. Always ask, can you reduce? Can you reduce that? No, you cannot. So now, let's keep things in order. You told me that this 1 represented a whole inch, so I'm going to bring it over. That's not going to work. So we got plus 1 inch. I'm going to put there. Alright? So, and then I'm going to bring this fraction over. I don't want to leave it behind. 13 24ths. Alright? So now, let's go to our inch column. 1 plus 7 is?
8.
8 plus 5 is?
13.
13 plus 8 is?
21.
Alright? So now we got 21. 21, and then what about feet? How many feet do we have?
We got 3.
3 feet. I'm about to kind of block this off. So we got 3 feet I'm going to bring down. So far, our final, well, we got 3 feet. Again, foot mark and 21 and 13/24 inches. What's going on with that? Is that a final answer?
No.
No. What do we need to do?
12 divided by 21.
Other way around.
We get 21 divided by 12.
21 divided by 12. I'm going to do this here. We got 21 inches divided by 12. And what are we looking for? We're looking for our feet. Yep. So how many 12s can we get out of 21? 1. We subtract 12 from 21. We're left with
9.
This represents my
Feet.
This represents my
Fraction. I mean, inches.
never a fraction. Anytime you're converting inches to feet, I'm glad you made that mistake. That might sound messed up because I don't know if they hear you, but it's not a fraction. Anytime you're converting inches to a feet and inches, it's going to give you feet and inches if there's anything left over. It'll never give you a fraction. If you don't have a fraction in your answer, if this 13/24 didn't exist, that means your answer would not have a fraction. If you got inches, you're taking away inches and you're left with inches, it's inches. Never a fraction. So now your final answer is, 1 second, you just told me we had an additional foot, right? Because you was able to take 1/12 from this 21 inches and you told me I was left with 9 inches, right? So that's where that came from. I'm not going to put my inch marks there because we have a fraction. Inch marks follow the fraction. And then you told me you was able to get 1/12, so I'm going to add my foot, because that converted over to a foot, to the feet that I already have. So now I have 4 feet, 1 tally mark, hyphen to join the inches. Alright? So yep, final answer 4 feet 9 and 13/24 inches. Alright, so again, do not feel defeated because you're doing triple deckers now. It's the same thing. So if yesterday's lesson you found it to be pretty easy, guess what? Today it should not be any more challenging for you. You still have to find an LCD. You still have to have that common denominator before you start adding, and make sure you're lining things up properly. If you need to, write the columns. It's easier to stack things. I know that some students like to work things out right here on the horizon. And if that's what works for you, by all means do it. I want you to do what works for you. But I notice that sometimes as well, students make mistakes because it's hard to see the transitions when you're adding like that. So stack everything, make your columns, make sure you put everything in the right columns, and double check that you wrote it out first before you actually start adding. Alright? The plus signs is separating the unit of measurements for you. Alright, so I got 2 more up for y'all, just to make sure everybody's good. Just as the first 2 problems, number 3, I did not write it out for you. I wrote it up top, but I want to show you how I'm going to stack it. So we're going to get through these 2 problems. So we have 27 feet and 7 3/8 inches plus 3 feet and 11 1/4 inches plus 3 3/32 of an inch. Do not assume that that whole number in front of the fraction is feet. You don't see a foot mark. Don't forget a mixed number consists of a whole number and a fraction. This is a mixed number. So don't assume because you have a whole number standing alone that is feet. It's not, unless it's a foot mark behind it. So I'm gonna line this up. Same thing as before. Feet, inches, fraction. So my feet, I got 27 feet, inches, fraction. Alright, so that's 27 feet, 7 and 3/8 inches for that first numeric expression, plus I got feet here, 3 feet, and 11 and 1/4 of an inch, plus 3, and that's an inch. It's a mixed number. And 3/32 of an inch. Bam. Now I got it set up. Again, it's always good to double check. Mistakes happen. Alright, so everything is lined up. First thing I need to do is
Common denominator.
find a common denominator. Denominator has to be the same before we proceed with adding. So the boss with the sauce is
32.
the largest denominator. Again, a denominator is a number on the bottom. You don't want a number smaller than the largest. So 32. We're going to ask ourselves, can 4 go into 32 evenly?
Yeah.
Yes. 8 has to go in there evenly as well for this to be our LCD. Can 8 go into 32 evenly?
Yeah.
Yes, it can. 8 times what gives me 32?
4.
8 times 4 gives me 32. What do I do for that 3 in that numerator?
Times 4.
Times 4. Whatever we do to the bottom, we do the same to the top.
Yeah.
So 4 times 3, we got 12. What about that 1/4 inches? How does that change?
4 times 8.
4 times 8. You say give us 32. So what do we do? Yep, 1 times 8.
8.
And what about that bottom fraction? 3/32.
1 times 1.
Yes, sir, it stays the same. The denominator doesn't change, neither does the numerator. So I multiply by 1 just to show you. So now we have a common denominator. Now we just add the numerators. The numerator is the number on top. 12 plus 8 is?
20.
20 plus 3?
23.
23
32.
over 32. What type of fraction is that? Proper fraction. Yep, I'm glad you didn't say improper fraction. I'm sure somebody probably did, because that's what I usually ask, is a proper fraction. That's why the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Can we reduce 23/32 of an inch? I always want to double check. Can 23 go into 32 evenly?
No.
Is there a number that can go into 23 and 32 evenly?
No.
If not, that means we can't reduce. We're done with that fraction. And it's in its proper place. We get the fraction with the fraction. So what about inches? We got 7 inches plus 11 inches is
18.
plus 3, 21 whole inches. But we have some more this way. We're just going to work it out and then go back if we need to. 27 plus 3 is?
30.
So we got 30 feet. Again, 30, one tally mark represents my feet. And this joins it. 21 and 23/32 of an inch. But what's going on?
You gotta convert
Convert.
to inches.
Convert.
Convert 21 to inches.
Convert 21 is already inches. We have to do what, y'all?
I mean, to feet.
Convert it to feet. So how do we convert inches to feet?
Divided by 12.
We divide it by 12. So I'm going to do that right here.
Mm-hmm.
So 21 inches. Hopefully y'all can see this. Divided by 12. Can they see that?
Mm-hmm.
So, how many 12s can we get out of 21?
1.
1. If we take 12 inches away from that, we're left with
9
9. This 9 represents my,
inches.
that 1 represents my,
Feet.
again, don't forget, when you're converting inches to feet, you're not going to have a fraction. I repeat, you will not have a fraction. If there's something left over, that's your whole number of inches. So you just told me that I have an additional foot that I took from this 21 inches by taking 12 inches from there. So you also told me I had 9 inches left over. 21 12 from 21 is 9. So now I have 31 feet and 9. Don't forget to go back for everything.
2332 inch.
Bam. That's your final answer. Good job. All right. Hopefully everybody's all good. Taj, Mike, I'm going to pick on y'all because y'all stuck out that first day of class. Hopefully everybody's good. Let's look at this last one, number 4. Again, this is just a brush up on what you'll be doing today. You're doing what we did yesterday. You just got triple deckers you're dealing with. All right, got you. So, we have 10 feet, 1/2 inch, plus, okay, there were no whole inches. All right, so I got my feet, my inches, my fraction. 10 feet and 1/2 inch, plus 9 3/8 inches. You'll notice there's no feet. If you want to, a lot of times students will ask me, can I put a 0 there? If you want to put a 0 there to help you, by all means do so. You don't have to. If you want to put it there, by all means, go ahead. You don't have to. But if that helps you with placement, by all means do it. So 9 3/8 inches plus 4 feet, 8 5/16 of an inch. So, can we add this the way it is?
No.
First thing we need to do is find
Common denominator.
the boss with the sauce is
16.
the largest denominator, which is 16. We don't want that. We don't want that denominator to be smaller than that. So we ask ourselves, can 8 go into 16 evenly?
No.
It can. But what about this 2? Can 2 go into 16 evenly?
No.
So that means 16 is my lowest common denominator. 2 times what gives me 16? 8. What do I do with this 1 up top?
Times 8.
Whatever you do for the bottom, do the same for the top for that fraction. So now we have 8/16 of an inch for that top fraction. What about 3/8? 8 times what give me 16? Huh?
2.
2. And then 3 times
2.
gives me
6.
6. So now that 3/8 became 6/16. What about that 5/16?
Times 1.
Times 1. It doesn't change. Why?
It's already the denominator.
Right, because the denominator didn't change. Denominator doesn't change, numerator doesn't change, and I'll show you that by multiplying it by 1. So now that we have a common denominator, all we do is add the numerators. 8 plus 6 is?
14.
14 plus 5 is?
19.
So now we have 19/16. What type of fraction is that?
Improper.
Improper fraction is going to give us a whole number of what?
Inches.
Inches. Don't forget, an improper fraction is going to give you a whole number of inches. And just to help you remember, think of that Beyonce song, to the left, but go to the left once first. Not 2 to the left, but to the left once. So improper fraction is going to give you a whole number of inches. So whatever whole number you get out of that improper fraction, it shifts over 1 column to the left, which is the inches column. So we want to find out how many 16s can we get out of 19. So 19 divided by 16 is 1. We take 16 from that, we're left with 3. So this 1 represents my whole number of inches. That 3 represents the
Fraction.
what part of the fraction?
The numerator.
The numerator. Yep. So 1 and 3.
3/16.
Yep. 3/16 inches. Can you reduce 3/16?
No.
No, we cannot. So let's line things up. So you just told me I had a whole inch. That 1, I'm going to put up here. Plus 1 inch. So 1 plus 9 is?
10.
Plus 8 is?
18.
You got 18 inches right here. Alright? And 10 plus 4 is?
14.
14 feet. 18.
Gotta convert.
And I'm going to bring this 13/16 over. 3/16 inches over. Alright? And you said convert what?
18 inches. Into feet.
Correct. So 18 inches. How many 12s can I get out of 18?
1.
You subtract 12 inches from 18 inches, you're left with
6.
6 what?
Inches.
Inches.
And 1 feet.
1 foot. Yep, so this is 1 foot 6 inches, which transfers over here.
So 6.
So you just told me that I had an additional foot, and we took 12 inches from here.
About 6.
That's where the 6 inches come from. 14 plus 1,
15.
15 feet, 6 and
36
drop that
tenths
fraction.
of an inch.
Inch marks follow that fraction of an inch. Wada bing, wada bang, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent job. So today again, we're just brushing up on adding measurements. We're doing triple deckers. If you have any questions, feel free to inbox me. Yeah, that's it. This lesson hopefully is not too challenging. Do not wait the last minute for help. All right. If you need some sidebar tutoring, let me know so I can get you some tutoring. We're not in a classroom setting, so I have to make sure that I do everything that I can to accommodate you. But make sure you're watching the videos. It does not appear that some of you are, but please watch that video. Don't speedball. Have a blessed day. Namaste.